All right, well, good morning, everybody in the UK. Good afternoon, evening, everyone in China, and good day, everyone in between. Welcome to this morning's session on China's silver consumers. This is a real burgeoning sector for UK companies, a huge amount of opportunity for them in a wide range of sectors and industries. And to reflect that, the China-Britain Business Council has prepared a report, China Silver Consumers, Growing Opportunities for UK Companies. Our presenter today is TJ, as she's affectionately known to us, who is the research analyst. Sorry guys, somebody's just jumped in there on my feed and gone loud. Yippee. I'll mute them, although I keep trying to unmute them. Right, brilliant. So as I said, TJ, she's known affectionately to us. We'll walk you through basically how this project was prepared, what the findings are, what the opportunities are, and how indeed UK companies can access this market. So just a little bit of background information for those of you who are new to us today on the China-Britain Business Council. The China-Britain Business Council is the leading organisation helping UK companies grow and develop their business with China. CBBC helps British companies of all sizes and at every stage of market entry with practical and market assistance, services, industry initiatives, as well as a membership program offering access, seminars, and significant networking. CBBC works closely with UKTI and the FCO and has a strategic partnership with the British Chamber of Commerce in Beijing, Chongqing, Chengdu, and Guangzhou, providing corporate members with reciprocal membership. Our business-led board and professional team have extensive first-hand experience of doing business in China, and through over 60 years of engagement, CBBC has built up exceptional connections with government and business across China. CBBC services are delivered through a network of 15 locations in China and 11 offices around the UK. CBBC helps companies to network and learn from China-savvy multinationals and SMEs to understand the intricacies of doing business in China and to develop sound strategies for expanding in the fast-changing and dynamic marketplace that is modern China. So that's just a little bit of background of ourselves. This is an interactive session. We would hope that you can ask questions, and we would very much welcome them. If you have a question, please type it into the area that I'm highlighting here. It'll pop up on my screen. If it's relevant to what TJ is talking about at the time, I will interrupt her and just drop the question in. Otherwise, I'll save it right until the end. So if I could just ask, please, if you could click on the little raise your hand button. Raise your hand. This is something we do just to make sure that I'm not talking out there into the ether all on my Todd, basically. Very good class. I can see lots of hands going up there. That's great. I'll put everybody's hands back down again. But if you do have a question at any time, please do feel free to ask them. Just a little background on TJ. She's one of our research analysts with an economics and finance background, over 4 years of research institutes, educational background in the EU and in Hong Kong, certified financial risk manager, and previously worked with Dow Jones Consulting, and now she works with us. Hooray for us. Okay, so let me once again check that she is online. Hello, TJ, are you out there?
Yeah, hi, David. Thank you very much. And thanks everybody for joining this webinar. So today we're going to talk about the silver consumers in China, those people who are age 60 and over. As most of us have been noticed that for years, companies looking to make money off Chinese consumers have targeted lucrative niches like the young and the rich. However, the silver consumer market, which is a new booming market in China, is largely being ignored by product and services marketers. So how big is China's silver market? Where are all those silver consumers? What are they looking to spend their hard-earned money? And how you can tailor your product and services to their needs? In CBBC newly published report on China's silver consumers, we offer the context to the profiles, trends, as well as consumption patterns of this burgeoning consumer group. And we highlight potential opportunities as well as market gaps for UK companies in a number of key fields, such as medical products and services, consumer products, education and relaxation, as well as financial services. Next slide, please, David.
I think it has changed over, TJ. There might be a slight lag between mine and your feed because you're in China, but it is changed.
Okay, thank you. So first, let's just start by analyzing the cause and size of China's aging population. As elsewhere, people in China are living longer and having fewer children. However, the speed of change has been dramatic. So let's first look at the top two graphs. From 1950 to 2010, in a half-century time, life expectancy and fertility rates in China quickly converged to the levels of developed countries. It took China only 50 years to increase life expectancy from 40 to 70 years, and merely 25 years for fertility rates to fall from 6 per mother to 3. Nowadays, Chinese people have an average lifespan of 76 years, which is higher than India, Russia, as well as Brazil, and fertility rate stood at around 1.7, even lower than the UK, France, and the US. In addition to rising life expectancy and declining fertility rates, the aging of the historical baby boom generations are further contributing to China's aging population. As shown in the graph on the bottom left, we can see that the first baby boom appeared during the post-war period from 1949 to 1957, just like in many Western countries, and the second boom appeared after the Great Famine, during which families postponed having children or had lost their young children. Later in the 1980s, a smaller boom appeared when the new marriage law came into effect, allowing Chinese residents to marry younger, and this generation is also known as the one-child generation. So those baby boomers are or will soon enter retirement over the next few decades. Due to all those demographic factors, the impact on China's future age structure is clear. We now already have 220 million Chinese people older than 60. By 2050, we will see the number rise to an eye-popping 480 million, accounting for more than a third of the economy's total population and a quarter of the world's elderly population. Next slide, please. So, while there is a growing army of the elderly people, China is also facing a declining workforce. Early in 2012, China for the first time recorded an absolute decrease in its working age population. And according to the United Nations, by 2050, China's workforce will continue to shrink by another 200 million, and its share in total population will fall from 70% to 52%. In other words, while 5 workers support each retiree today, by 2050, there will be 1 more retiree for every 2 workers in China. The so-called demographic dividend of mass mobilization of China's population into the workforce, which has long contributed to the expansion of the country's booming economy, is dwindling and soon to disappear. Next slide, please. And geographically, there are already 26 out of 31 Chinese provinces had over 7% of their population aged 65 and over. And the percentage is higher in provinces such as Liaoning, Jiangsu, Shanghai, Sichuan, and Chongqing. It is estimated that by 2050, the aging problem will be more severe on the east coast and northern part of China, while the 65-plus age group will account for 30% of the population in regions such as Heilongjiang, Jilin, Inner Mongolia, Tianjin, Shanghai, as well as Zhejiang. Moreover, China's rapid urbanization in recent decades has enabled the old age groups in urban areas to maintain steady growth. Over the next 5 years, half of the 60-plus age group will be located in urban areas, and by 2050, the proportion will rise up to 70%. So this will certainly have both social and economic implications, but the good news is that with the rise of urban middle-income households who have higher wages as well as better education, there will be high expectations for quality of life as well as security after retirement. Next slide, please. So, as we all know that consumer market in China is particularly diverse, and so is the silver market. As Professor Florian Kohlbecker at Xi'an Jiao Tong Liverpool University says, you cannot target the whole silver market in China. It is by no means one homogeneous market segment. There are many segments that divide people into different generations with different values and attitudes, and these values and attitudes will determine the future trend of the silver market. So understanding those differences is critical for companies who ever wants to tap into China's silver market. Let's just quickly go through some summaries of the key life events, consumer traits, and core values of the different generations. And starting from today's silver consumers, traditional generation was those born prior to 1945 and today aged 70 years and older. They were largely caught in the wartime with experience of decades of turbulence in their early life. They were predominantly poor and educated and rural, and most informed of traditional values such as collectivism and sacrifice. Nowadays, they usually maintain traditional spending patterns by being very conservative and frugal, and few are likely to embrace Western brands, partially due to their core value of patriotism. Next slide, please. And a younger generation of today's silver consumers, which we call it the Mao generation, they're aged between 55 and 69 years today, also known as the lost generation, due to their unfair share of misfortunes throughout life, including the three-year Daddies famine, the Cultural Revolution, as well as the large-scale reforms of state-owned enterprises in the late 1990s, which directly lead to unemployment. Therefore, the vast majority of the Mao generation remains varied due to lifetime experience of having to struggle and adapt one's life to the changing environment with few resources available. Their sense of uncertainty and insecurity makes them feel strongly inclined to save and to create wealth. The old age groups of the Mao generation, they typically have 3 or more children and who are likely to be the main sources of financial support for them. Some of them have stronger desire to live their remaining life to the full and have started to consume to compensate for years of deprivation. So companies should consider advertising in a way to encourage elderly people to spend their hard-earned money and enjoy themselves, also exploring life, and marketing to their children who typically feel strong cultural pressure to take care of their older parents. And in comparison to today's silver consumers, tomorrow's silver heirs as retirees in the years ahead will give them much more freedom and opportunities, both in academic and economic-wise. They came of age in the growing consumer market, with exposure to many Western elements flowing into China since the late 1980s. Part of the transitional generation, they were fortunate to enter universities when higher education was reversed by the end of the Cultural Revolution. Some even studied abroad at government expenditure as part of Deng Xiaoping's open door policy. So they're more open-minded and adventurous. They're willing to try new things and to embrace Western brands. However, members of the transitional generation have far less children than their predecessors due to China's one-child policy, which lasted for more than 3 decades and now has been changed into a 2-child policy. Although nearly half of the over 60 today in China live with their adult children, co-residence is expected to fall sharply due to changing lifestyles, rapid urbanization, and migration, with aged parents left behind. This shift will lead to rising demand for products and services, which can help the aged stay independent and autonomous, while also keeping them away from loneliness and isolation. Next slide, please.
TJ, just a quick question there.
Yes.
So, I mean, looking at the 2 older generations, the Mao generation and then the 70-plus generation, are they very detached? Yeah. Are they very detached from what Western services and products might be? Would they be less likely to be adaptable to accept those types of consumer products from the West? And are maybe companies from the UK with products better off focusing on tomorrow's silver consumers? Or do you still think there's a market?
Yeah, I think for the over 70s today, so the traditional generation, they are kind of they're not very inclined to accept Western brands. It's not that they don't like it, but it's just like a lack of knowledge, or they don't have the information for those better products or services that is provided by Western companies. They're more inclined to choose the local products which they feel they're more familiar with and they have experience with it in their lifetime. But for the Mao generation, I think there is market. Exactly. I mean, it's not small, actually. They have the money in their hand, but, I mean, many services or products marketers, they have not tried to market to them directly, or they have not really meeting their demands, so they're not spending it on products or services provided Westerners.
Okay. All right, thanks for that.
Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. And for those who were born after 1970, who are aged 25 to 44 today, now the backbone of the society in China, many have emerged as China's new middle-income groups, which account for the rise of consumer revolution towards a more diversified and individualistic consumer market, especially members of the old one-child generation. They're now displaying more global consumer characteristics as a result of their predominantly urban, often Western lifestyles, and their technology savvy and increasingly focusing on leisure activities, willing to spend a higher proportion of their income in the services sector. So it can be expected that when they enter retirement, they will be more selfish, or more self-focused, and they will want to spend more on themselves instead of passing everything on to their children or grandchildren. And next slide, please. And aside from the differences in values and attitudes among key generations, companies should also ensure that they understand the developing needs as well as preferences of the silver segment. So here we concluded 4 existing or emerging consumer trends in the silver market, which are believed to be more prevalent in the next few decades and particularly relevant to addressable marketers. First of all, older Chinese are not necessarily conservative and purely price sensitive. They often pursue value and quality rather than low prices, as they understand that quality costs. On certain products, especially those health-related such as food and medicines, they're willing to pay extra for quality. Secondly, they're not all closed to new ideas. Instead, many of them have strong desire to improve their quality and enjoyment of life in retirement. They know what they like, and once they made up their mind to learn or to try out new things, they often have the patience and self-confidence. And thirdly, changing lifestyles and increasing prevalence of chronic conditions have made consumers be more concerned about their health and wellness. Older Chinese consumers have started to turn to imported food products and nutritional supplements, while also paying more attention to emotional health by participating in travel and leisure activities. And fourthly, there emerged a growing number of silver surfers who are embracing the digital age by driving growth in online shopping, online payment, and social networking. In 2013, Alibaba reported 2 million online shoppers of the age of 50. And the trend of digital connectivity will continue among the silver segment as consumers increasingly perceive the benefits and convenience of online activities. Next slide, please. And after going through all of those consumer profiles and trends, let's start to discuss where are the opportunities for UK companies. Next slide, please. So first and foremost, the classic silver market, elderly care products and services. China is already the world's 3rd largest drug market. As the population continues to age, there will be millions more of Chinese people over the age of 60 with chronic illness, mobility issues, vision or hearing impairments each year. Therefore, demand for drug and assistive devices are expected to soar over the next few years. By 2020, drug sales for the over 60s alone will reach £90 billion. There will be opportunities for foreign drug manufacturers in innovative medication treatment for diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes, also in preventive treatment such as vaccination for influenza. And the potential market for elderly assistive devices like mobility aid, hearing and visual auxiliary equipment is roughly estimated at £6 billion by 2020. With further development of elderly care hospitals, rehabilitation centers, and nursing facilities in China, there will be rising demand for a wider range of medical equipment among the silver segment. And the good news is that foreign-made medical devices are often perceived of higher quality in China. Consumers are willing to spend extra on a foreign brand, but it should be noted that even private institutions in China have limited experience in working with advanced medical equipment. So it is therefore important to educate the market about products and solutions and to provide continuous training as well as support. Next slide, please. Another big market is the elderly care services sector, which has gained increasing attention in recent years. So CBBC has another report which specifically looking at opportunities for UK companies in elderly care services sector. You can go to your CBBC website and download it for free. Although still only 2% of China's elderly opt for institution-based care in China now. At least 10% are willing to. Chinese elderly, they particularly love to live close to family and friends, and they commonly attach high value to good medical care services, regardless of whether there is immediate need. Majority of the Chinese elderly will still opt for home-based elderly care. However, despite that, existing resources are fairly limited in meeting demand. Many Chinese people are often not aware of the availability of many in-home or residential-based care, such as rehabilitation, safety, or any counseling services. Considering the government target by 2020, China still lacks 4.4 million beds and 5 million professional caregivers. So training a new generation of caregivers is going to be a very important and potentially lucrative sector, not only for institution-based care, but also for the in-home care services needs of many emerging middle-income families. UK companies can either work in partnership with local Chinese firms or to set up elderly care institutions independently. The opportunities also exist in many relevant sectors, such as design, planning, operations, management, equipment, as well as digital systems. Next slide, please. And besides the classic silver market, there are, of course, many other sub-segments in the consumer products market which are presenting increasing opportunities for UK companies. And as we mentioned before, Chinese elderly nowadays have started to consume health food and nutritional supplements, and China's health industry is expected to grow at an annual rate of 20% over the next decade, while half of the products in this category target middle-aged and older consumers. The majority of older Chinese people, they're willing to pay higher premiums for food products deemed to be healthier. Due to a series of food scandals in China, consumers are skeptical of certain goods domestically produced, especially dairy products, which are giving opportunities for wider imported products with their perceived safety and quality guarantees. In terms of digital technology, it has been found that over 40% of internet users aged 60 and over in China identify themselves as being frequent technology users. The result is striking as compared to Asia-Pacific average of only 15% and global average of only 16%. So we found that the cost of access and ease of use have strong impact on older consumers' adoption as well as eventual use of new electronic devices, while quality and durability are also important considerations as they are less likely to switch to new gadgets on a regular basis. As social mobility and urbanization trends accelerate, there will be growing demand for innovative gadgets, either for communication, socializing, entertainment, or health monitoring, medical alerts, and other electronic aids to assist with daily living. Another underdeveloped silver market in China is the fashion and beauty products market. In fact, many Chinese retirees, they continue to take pride in their appearance, and they want style, relevant fashion, and better services. However, companies or brands have made little or even no attempts to address the needs of the older consumers, or to market their products or services directly to them. Although with money in hand, older consumers are not necessarily spending on fashion and beauty products. It has been estimated that spending power of the Chinese older consumers on clothing will be at least 10 billion pounds by 2020. Mature consumers, they are more value-driven. They buy what they need, and they're often prepared to pay more for products of high quality, good materials, and a relevant style and design that will last them a bit longer. Next slide, please. Older consumers have also been the main driver for China's leisure tourism. 40% of Chinese retirees are willing and able to go on holidays, and they would like to set aside 15% of their annual income for travel, which is approximately 2,100 pounds per year. Older Chinese consumers particularly prefer to travel with companions, either in small groups of families or with former colleagues or friends, and they commonly indicate that price is less important than who they are traveling with and the destination. Their preferences are also shifting towards long-haul travel, higher cost accommodation, and more customized travel packages. So companies should focus on innovative and differentiated products, offering travel experiences that address the emotional and intellectual needs of older Chinese consumers, but without highlighting them as age-related needs. Moreover, opportunities are not only for travel service providers. The market is also growing in travel-related products, such as high-end digital cameras, travel insurance products, as well as other travel accessories. And talking about leisure and entertainment, we cannot miss out a very important consumer group, the middle-aged Chinese women, also known as Chinese Dama. This group of people has made a number of big contributions to the world, including gold purchases, square dancing, and most recently bikini, which is a unique piece of swimwear that firstly appeared in Qingdao in 2006. So middle-aged Chinese female beachgoers wear a mask to show their face from exposure to the sun. And it soon gained popularity in other areas in China. Last year, bikini went on French fashion magazine, finally attracted global attention and coming to be a new fashion trend. Those damas who often hold the purse strings of their families and doing everything in groups, no matter entertaining, dancing, traveling, or even in house purchases, are actually a very promising market segment for businesses. They have growing entertainment and leisure pursuits. If more public facilities can be provided and companies can step up their efforts to market to the silver hairs, offering them special deals, events which will make them feel that their age is being respected and rewarded, they're going to spend more on enjoying themselves in the services sector. Next slide, please. And Chinese people, they typically retire at a young age. Currently, the average retirement age in China is 54, and most of them remain fit and healthy for 1 or 2 decades after retirement, so they need more opportunities to learn. There are, of course, different needs and objectives which require careful market research and segmentations. Existing institutions for older age students in China are predominantly government-funded, with their main focus on cultural and leisure education. However, up to now, still less than 5% of the over 60s are successfully enrolled in elderly education institutions. So there is still a large demand being unmet. Companies can provide various training programs to cater to the over 60s, such as training courses for language skills, the internet and family health, also short-term study tours, especially in foreign countries, which associate with a growing interest in overseas travel, and also professional training for employment. Today, more and more older Chinese people, they continue to work after retirement, either to support dependents or to satisfy their own financial and career needs. And since last year, occupational training has become an encouraged category for foreign investors. So foreign companies can now set up wholly owned educational institutions to provide occupational training services for Chinese consumers. And we interviewed the Dean for Academic Affairs at Shanghai University for the elderly. Mr. Lu told us that more than half of their students have a higher education qualification, and most of them held senior management roles before retirement. Those older age groups will be a key market segment for high-end educational services, which is still an untapped market in China. Next slide, please. And of course, the financial services industry will also make a very large portion of the silver market and still has lots of room to grow. Not only Chinese retirees are demanding financial products and services, there's a greater number of the working age population, so the tomorrow's silver consumers, they're looking for quality financial and retirement planning services. We have observed that many older Chinese in China, they have become enthusiastic and relatively savvy investors, but they're left largely to rely on their own expertise when engaging in financial trading due to a lack of financial services and investment products to aid their decision-making. There are a number of consumer traits which we want to highlight. At first, Chinese silver hairs, they have strong tendencies to save, as the social security system is imperfect and the average retirement pension remains low at present. Secondly, as traditional family support network is breaking down, it becomes more difficult for adult children to perform their care duty for their older family members. And Chinese silver hairs are becoming more economically independent nowadays. They do not want to be a financial burden on their families, so planning for their future financial situation is becoming essential. Thirdly, Chinese parents are typically 孩子奴, slaves to the only child. There are still many Chinese adults remain in some way financially dependent on their parents, most commonly in property purchases. So this largely restricts older consumer spending on themselves. Although the situation will not sustain forever, it is important that companies start to focus on providing better financial planning and investment services to help grow, manage, and preserve household wealth, while also stepping up marketing efforts to convince older Chinese that they deserve more. Firstly, Chinese consumers are losing the old habits of paying everything with cash and not on credit, partially because of the rise of online retail. It has been found that nearly half of the over 55s have at least one credit card. They're expected to drive greater demand in online financial services in the coming future, such as for payment and settlement services, as well as purchases of investment products. We believe that the opportunities for UK companies will first emerge in pension, insurance, and wealth management sectors. As China continues to step up its pace of financial liberalization, foreign companies with international expertise and resources are expected to play a bigger role in providing financial protection for Chinese silver hairs in years to come. Next slide, please. So let's just quickly to sum up. So the number of silver consumers in China have already exceeded entire populations of the UK, France, and Germany combined. By 2020, China will be home to a quarter of the world's elderly population. In addition to taking a traditional role caring for grandchildren, the over 60s, and starting to embrace consumerism and independence, and their spending power is estimated a third of the economy by 2050. Next slide, please. And today's silver hairs in China, they're also becoming more financially secure, open-minded, and adventurous. They're found to be more positive for embracing new technology. They're also not all closed to new ideas. Many have strong desire to learn new skills and to try out new things, also pursuing a wide variety of products and services which can fit their modern lifestyles. Next slide, please. So what are the implications for UK companies? China's silver market is not homogeneous, but rather diverse and highly fragmented. Companies should avoid a tendency to oversimplify or to generalize the market. You need to find a subsegment to target. With rising incomes and higher living standards, consumers are attaching more and more importance to quality. Older consumers, they understand that quality costs, but they're also relatively more conservative and price sensitive. So companies should try to seek out to what price range in China that silver consumers associate with quality. Empirical studies have found that the middle-aged and older adults tend to feel about 10 years younger than they actually are. Therefore, when advertising products and services to older Chinese, it is not suitable to indicate old age. You cannot simply tell these are for older people. They will feel being offended. And in comparison to younger generations, silver hairs are often less well informed of new products and services, especially when it turns to more advanced products. They often need more support. So it is important to educate the market about products and solutions. Well, marketing to their adult children is also an effective strategy most of the time in China. Lastly, demographics will require all managers to abandon the concept of solely targeting younger customers. At the end of the day, we will all find ways to market to the old without either offending them or putting off younger customers. And because China's silver market is still underdeveloped, whoever acts first can be a pioneer and have market advantage. But you have to be quick. I think that's all from me.
All right. Well, thank you very much, TJ. I like to think that I'm at least 10 or 15 feel 10 or 15 years younger than I actually am as well. So I don't think it's just old people. Right. Well, I welcome questions, please, from anybody who has them. Please do type in any questions. Something I'd like to ask, if I could. Now,
Yes.
you did say don't overgeneralize, but I think marketing to these to this particular demographic is a challenge for international and UK companies. Are there examples of other international companies who've done this well so far, who you might say, you know what, look at what company X has done. They were really smart. They got into the market quickly. They marketed intelligently. Are there any examples of people who've done it already?
To be honest, in the Chinese market, really very, very few companies have really targeted at this consumer segment. But we interviewed Howard and Barrett, a UK health products company. They supply like nutritional supplements, and they have been set up in China for quite many years. And during the past few years, their sales revenue have been growing substantially. I think the very important strategy for them is that they're using the online and offline channels to target at not only the older consumers, but also many young customers. And in China, you know, a very important strategy is to that making the young adults to buy products for their parents, etc. So Hurry Barrett, they spend a lot of efforts to training their employees, to their staff in stores, and to let them to direct the customers to the right product, to let them know, have more knowledge about the nutritional supplements and what do they really need. So I think that is very important for the Chinese market. You really need to work into to reach out to the customers and to let them know more of the product knowledge.
Okay, so you're saying there's really a two-pronged approach here, in the sense that firstly you want to market to the people themselves, but also you want to market to the children of those people, because they may indeed be the people who have the money, or they may make the decisions.
Yeah, true. Because many of the current old, they might still have very limited knowledge about Western products. But of course, there are some elite group who perhaps are entrepreneurs at the beginning of China's opening up, so they have money in their hand, but they may lack of the knowledge of the product and services. But their children they may have, and many of their children have been sent out to Western countries to study. So their consumption patterns or behavior might also influence their parents' consumption behaviors.
Sure. So if a very practical question, if this, for the UK companies that are listening today, if you're a small or medium-sized company, maybe not a huge multinational with billions and billions and billions, and you feel you have a service or product that would fit well in this market, what would you say to them today? What should they go and do to begin their journey to approach this market?
Firstly, you need to find your target city, I think. So you cannot target the whole China. There are so many provinces, cities, and with so many different consumer segments. So first of all, you might want to, I think currently there are more opportunities in first-tier cities because consumers, they have higher living standards, and especially in Shanghai, they're really influenced by Western elements that flow into China in the late 1980s. They're more internationalized, and so consumers, they might have more interest in Western products. And of course, you need to marketing your products. I think there's compared American companies, British companies, there might be a gap that American companies really, really spend a lot of efforts to do the marketing work, but British company, they might be relatively more conservative and relatively not that into marketing stuff. So I think if you want to reach to the older consumers, they might not be online shoppers. They might still go to department stores. So you need to have some marketing campaign to reach out to them, to give some of their free samples, and to talk to them. Do not ignore them. Really, do not ignore them. I've seen so many sellers in department stores. They only go to those young customers, but actually they're selling the products which older consumer can also buy.
Okay, thank you. Quick question from John on the patterns of fertility. Now that the one-child policy has been relaxed, are there any changes in fertility rates, or do people expect demographics to change?
Well, I think the general opinion is that, actually not general opinion, but the fact is that so far there's not real increase in fertility rates. I mean, people have done surveys of those adults, and they commonly indicate that the cost is one of the main considerations for them. Raising a child in China is really expensive, and they cannot even afford the first child, so not to say the second child. And secondly, I think most of the Chinese women, they still work, and which kind of restrict their ability to raise up another child. Of course, there are many older parents that will take care of the grandchildren, but considering the second child might be delivered like an older age, so their older grandparents will be not able to really spend a lot of time on them. They will have their own issues. So the fact, I think there might be some time until that people will start to considering to having a second child in China, considering the economic situation and their own financial burdens.
Okay, so there will not be another baby boom in the next few years.
I think so. Yeah, I think there won't be another baby boom. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that everything you said was pretty clear and pretty straightforward and very helpful for all of our listeners this morning. For those of you who want to download the report that TJ led on, I'm just highlighting the URL right now. So if you click on that, hopefully you'll be able to click it on your screen. If not, just cbbc.org/silverhaired. You'll also find it right on the front of our website on the top banner. Other than that, all that remains for me to say is thank you to TJ for your time and your input. Thank you, everyone, for our listeners. If you have any questions, please feel free to get back to myself or to TJ. We will happily answer questions. I'll happily forward them to her. If you would like to rewatch this webinar, we will record it. It has been recorded, and we will put it on our website, and you can share it with colleagues or whomever you think it would be valuable for. So that's really it for today. I'd just like to say thanks very much again to TJ. Thanks to all our listeners, and I wish everybody a happy China business. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.